The following is a presentation of NBC Sports, network of the games of the 25th Olympiad.
In last year's Western Conference Finals, it was Magic and the Lakers jumping for joy, while Rick Adelman's Trailblazers departed with unfulfilled expectations.
The hottest team in basketball is the Boston Celtics. They're on the verge of winning the Atlantic after trailing the Knicks by 5 games with 8 to play.
And while the Celtics have been soaring, Pat Riley's Knicks have been in a free fall. We'll take a look at it next on Showtime. The Trailblazers and Lakers coming up. Memorial Coliseum in Portland, site of today's matchup between the Trailblazers and the Lakers. Portland looks to sweep the season series against LA today, and in so doing, they would eliminate the Lakers from the playoffs for the first time in 16 years. Hi, everybody. Bob Costas with Quinn Buckner, and a bit later, Peter Vesey and Bob Ferry. Do the Trailblazers want to do that, though? These situations crop up from time to time in the NBA, where at least in theory, it's in a team's best interest to lose. Do they want to eliminate the Lakers and therefore draw Houston, 1 playing 8 in the Western Conference?
I don't think we want to talk about do they want to lose, but the facts are, and you're on the right track, is Houston has beaten Portland 3 out of 4 times, so they definitely don't want to play them. But, you know, the Lakers have a long shot as it stands anyway, because the Lakers have to win today and they have to win tomorrow and hope that Houston loses, and that's probably not going to happen for them.
Now, somebody might say about the Lakers, why do they even want to make the playoffs and get a quick first-round bounce-out when they can get into the lottery? But getting into the lottery isn't quite as appealing as it used to be for the team that's right on the edge.
Well, that's absolutely correct, because it's a weighted lottery now. It's not 1 in 11. They get 1 ball out of 66, so it's a much more difficult task to get that #1 pick now with the lottery.
Okay, Quinn, the final spot in the Western Conference playoffs could have been settled last night in Dallas if the Houston Rockets had beaten the Mavericks. But for the second time in a week, Houston lost to Dallas and thus kept the door open for the Lakers' slim playoff hopes. Fourth quarter, Rockets center Akeem Olajuwon with the steal, then he hits the off-balance shot, plus he's fouled, and it gives Houston a 5-point lead. Akeem had 33 and 13 boards. With about a minute left, Herb Williams of the Mavs nails the jumper. Dallas takes a 106-105 lead. Williams led the Mavericks with 24. The Rockets were down 3 in the final seconds. Dave Jamerson misses the 3. Then Kenny Smith also will miss from deep at the buzzer, and the Mavericks hold on to win 109-106 over the Rockets. This is last night in some Portland bistro. Mike Dunleavy looking on, watching the game on television, and he sees that his team is alive for at least another day. They do remain alive in the Western Conference, and here's the only scenario under which they could get the final playoff spot. They need to win today in Portland, then they need to beat the Clippers at home tomorrow night. They also need the Rockets to lose at home tomorrow night to Phoenix. Mike Dunleavy's team has a chance, albeit a slim one. The Laker coach spoke with our Tom Hammond a short while ago. Here it is.
All right, thanks, Bob. And Mike, a little help from the Dallas Mavericks last night. Were you able to find a place to watch the Houston-Dallas game?
Oh, definitely. Watched it from start to conclusion, and we got a lot of help from Dallas last night. And so now we have an opportunity to carry our season on at least for 1 more day.
Did you have your lucky charm with you last night?
No lucky charms, just sitting there rooting them on.
What has been the reason that you've been able to play through all this adversity and still be alive?
Well, we've had guys really play hard for us. That's the #1 thing. And then we've got some real good contributions from some of our younger guys. Owen Campbell has come through with some big games for us. Tony Smith, and then Terry Teagle and Chucky Brown off the bench have given us some good scoring.
What would be the key to beating a Portland team that you've not been able to defeat all season?
Well, first of all, today is to try and keep them from getting out of their running game, you know, keep them out of transition, and then from there to try and keep Duckworth from going off in the low post. He's a guy they've been trying to get off going into the playoffs, and then you got to contain Porter and Ainge from the outside.
Okay, thanks, Bob. The Lakers try to stay alive in Portland.
Thanks, Tom. We'll check with you later. Meanwhile, over in the Eastern Conference, the best race is for the top spot in the Atlantic between the Knicks and the Celtics. New York, to be fair, has exceeded most expectations this year. After all, back in November, who would have predicted the Knicks would win 50 games and be in contention for the Atlantic title on the last weekend of the season? but the early success has now been overshadowed by the Knicks' recent collapse. With 8 games left on their schedule, the Knicks had a seemingly insurmountable 5-game lead over the Celtics in the Atlantic. And then the free fall began. It started 13 days ago in Cleveland, where the Knicks scored only 1 point in the final 2.5 minutes as they lost to the Cavs. Still nobody was panicking yet, but then Bill Laimbeer and the Pistons visited the Garden, and Detroit stopped the Knicks cold. The lead was down to 3. Up next, a visit to the surging Celtics, with the Knicks losing their 23rd consecutive regular season game at the Boston Garden. Making matters worse, the win gave Boston the season series and thus the playoff tiebreaker over the Knicks. The lead had shrunk to 2. After a win in Philly, Detroit bloodied and battered the Knicks last Sunday, holding New York to an incredible 61 points. The Celtics were now within a game. After surviving a scare against the Bullets, the collapse was completed Wednesday in Atlanta. New York went scoreless for the last 3:41, and the unthinkable had happened. The Knicks had let their circumstances slip out of control, and now they need help.
We blame no one but ourselves, and we've dealt with it. We have to put it behind us right now, and that's what we're trying to do. We had a hard practice, and I think we'll get back to what we need to do going into the playoffs.
We're disappointed in ourselves more than anything, coaching staff, players, all together. You know, it was a few disappointing losses right in a row, and that can happen at any point in the season. You just don't want it to happen towards the end when you're trying to peak towards the playoffs.
Now, as surprising as the Knicks' recent downturn has been, the Celtics' surge has been an even more remarkable story. Boston has suddenly caught fire, winning 14 of its last 15. They've taken the last 7 in a row, including wins over Chicago, Cleveland, New York, and Detroit, all without Larry Bird.
Whenever Larry goes down, the media and every fan starts to count what happens, and you get the 1 loss total with Larry in and out of the lineup. So, you know, tremendous pressure is put on the guys, and right now, the feeling is very good, and you know, I couldn't be prouder of the players and what they've accomplished.
For the first time since Bird arrived in Boston 13 seasons ago, the Celtics are winning consistently with Larry on the sidelines. Without him just before the All-Star game, they won 7 of 10. And now, more importantly, there's the current 7-game winning streak without Bird. Some unlikely heroes have come through, but Reggie Lewis has emerged as the Celtics' new offensive leader.
We were so used to just giving the ball to Larry, and Larry was always coming up hitting the big shots for us. But now we find a way to win ball games, especially when the game is on the line, and it just gives all of us more confidence while we prepare for the playoffs.
Now we've generated momentum, which is really key, because when Larry comes back, then he can step into a very relaxed role. He can dish the ball, pass, rebound, and do all the stuff he does very well, and not be so worried about saying, man, I got to get 30 points to get this team back righted.
Chris Ford told us that Bird will definitely not play tomorrow afternoon in Boston against Miami. His status for the playoffs, at least the opening round, up in the air. The Celtics win the Atlantic and the #2 spot in the East, with either a win tomorrow against Miami or a Knick loss tonight in Milwaukee. There are also some good races at the bottom of the Eastern bracket, like the one for the 8th spot between Atlanta and Miami. The Hawks needed a win last night, but unfortunately they found themselves looking at the NBA's best team, the Chicago Bulls, and it wasn't pretty. The Bulls' 65% shooting from the field buried the Hawks. Off the steal, Scottie Pippen to Michael Jordan, who swoops in for 2 of his team-high 21. The Bulls rout the Hawks. It's usually a physical game when the Cavaliers and the Pacers meet. Indiana rookie Dale Davis was ejected for the flagrant elbow on Henry James. The Cavaliers played last night without Mark Price and Brad Daugherty. Guard Steve Kerr led the way, though, with a season-high 24. Cleveland had a 5-0 sweep head-to-head against Indiana this year. The loss prevented Indiana from clinching the 6th playoff spot in the East. The Nets could earn that spot with a win tonight against Orlando. In Oakland, the playoff-bound Clippers with a bit of a letdown against the Warriors. Off the turnover, Tim Hardaway goes in for 2 of his game-high 29. He also dished out 11 assists. Warriors over the Clips, 116-104. In Seattle, Sonics fighting for playoff position. Nate McMillan to Sean Kemp, who splits the defense and puts it up and in. Kemp had 24 points and also cleared 14 rebounds. The Sonics beat the Kings 130-106. The T-Wolves were visiting the Jazz in Salt Lake City. John Stockton had 23 assists, one of them to Jeff Malone, who poured in a season-high 39 for him. The Jazz will finish with the NBA's best home record. And finally, in San Antonio, the Spurs got 34 points from Terry Cummings. He's averaging 25 a game since David Robinson's injury. The Spurs are playoff-bound, but their fans are already thinking ahead to next year, when Jerry Tarkanian and his famous towel will be on the sidelines. Very, very nice. Up next on Showtime, we'll see how the Trailblazers have attempted to bounce back from last year's devastating loss in the Western Conference Finals to the Lakers. But as we go to break, a look at the playoff matchups to the moment. New Jersey and Indiana will trade places if the Nets beat Orlando tonight in the Meadowlands. That could set up an intriguing first-round rematch from last year. Bird, if he's healthy, versus Person, the Celtics and the Pacers. How fluid is the NBA playoff picture right now? That Jazz-Clipper matchup in the West is the only one in either conference that's etched in stone. We're back shortly.
For tires, there's only one name I look up to.
America's #1 name in tires.
And there's one tire store that I trust.
Is now at America's #1 tire store. Goodyear comes to Sears. And right now, selected Goodyear tires are introductory priced.
I got Goodyear tires. I got them backed by Sears. I don't need to hear anything else.
America's #1 tire now at America's #1 tire store.
Who's going to back you better than Sears?
Everybody hates to eat and run. We'd rather take it slow. But the way this life is going, gotta grab your food and go. And when all that running round catches up with you at last, get yourself some Alka-Seltzer and you'll feel better fast.
For acid indigestion or heartburn with headache, nothing's faster or more effective than Alka-Seltzer.
Get yourself some Alka-Seltzer and you'll feel better fast.
Making your place look great should be fun and save you money. To do it right the first time, just ask Ace.
This 4-cubic-foot wheelbarrow is only $19.99. An Ace lawn rake or round point shovel, just $5.99 each.
Ace Best Buy is another reason Ace is the place for you.
A car with a worn suspension is more than uncomfortable. It's unsafe. But Midas puts you back in control. For a limited time, buy one Shocker strut and get the second for 50% off. For a safer suspension, nobody beats Midas.
We are one. We are one. Together. We are one. Forever. We are forever and ever. We are one.
Team USA is coming to the Summer Olympics on NBC.
NBA Showtime is brought to you by Armor All. There is a fountain of youth, and we own the patent.
At this time last year, nearly everyone expected the Portland Trail Blazers to come out of the West and play in the NBA Finals, but nearly everyone was wrong. A thoroughly disheartened Blazer team lost to the Lakers in 6 in the Western Conference Finals. And while the Blazers are again the favorites in the West, this year there's much more skepticism about them making it to the championship series. Here's Quinn with more.
Finals, baby, that's what we're talking about. Finals, baby, that's what we're talking about. Finals, baby, that's what we're talking about.
If you play in the NBA, what else is there to talk about? If you play for the Portland Trail Blazers, what else can you think about? 2 years ago, this team made it to the finals, the first time in 13 years. But their championship hopes were put to rest by the Pistons, 4-1.
Finals, baby, that's what we're talking about. Finals, baby, that's what we're talking about. Finals, baby.
Last season, anything less than a return to the finals would have been a failure. They ran away with the West, won home court advantage against the Lakers in the Western Conference Championship. They were arguably the best team in the NBA.
Worthy to Perkins. The Los Angeles Lakers now have home court advantage.
I still have a lot of confidence in us as a team.
You find yourself in a position where you just got to win one game at a time.
We want to end it as quick as possible.
Magic with exactly 1 minute to go and another turnover. Porter to Kersey and Robinson loses the ball on a 3-on-1. Oh my! Portland had the lead on Cliff Robinson's fingertips. The Lakers go to the finals in Chicago.
Finals, baby, that's what we're talking about. Finals, baby, that's what we're talking about.
We disappointed everybody. It was a disappointing year. And it was disappointing to us because we set a lot of goals. One was to win the Pacific Division, to have the best record. And we hit every goal but getting back to the finals and winning the championship.
We lost in the Western Conference Finals to the Lakers, a team that has terrorized the Western Conference over the years. And then, you know, we had the whole summer to sit around and think about the mistakes that we made during the playoffs. I think we doubted ourselves. I think the coaching staff doubted our talent level or what we had to accomplish. I think management sort of doubted the kind of players that they have assembled over the years. And I think over the summer was a sort of rehabilitating kind of process for our team because we just felt it was a better team than the Lakers.
The hangover didn't last long into this season. Portland returned to its regular season form. Once again, they have the best record in the West. And once again, they're being picked to make it to the finals. But what happens if they don't? What happens to a coach who can't get his team over the hump? Can he lose his job?
That might be a chance, too, you know, because coaches, from what I've seen, they get rid of coaches quicker than they get rid of players.
I don't know if I have to get to the finals. You'd have to ask other people that, but there's definitely tremendous expectations here. And it's sometimes difficult to deal with because if you win, it's not that you won, it's what could you have done better to win better or to win, you know, at a higher margin. If you lose, there's got to be some definite reason why you lost, and everybody's dissecting it, but that's all part of the job.
Finals, baby, that's what we're talking about. Finals, baby, that's what we're talking about. Finals, baby, that's what we're talking about.
Well, we talked earlier in the season about that window of opportunity for a team in professional sports. It isn't that wide. They may be getting to the end of that window.
Well, I think there's a good chance. They had a legitimate shot. They got off to a slow start early in the season, and they're starting to play better. But I think, Bob, if they don't win it, they've got to look at making some changes because clearly there's some confidence that's been shaken, and they haven't put it together well enough to be consistent to win the championship.
You know, as resourceful as the Lakers were a year ago, Cliff Robinson doesn't fumble that ball on the 3-on-1, hits the layup. Maybe they win that 6th game at the Forum, then they're favored to win the 7th game at home. Could have changed the whole psychological history of the team.
I think that's a great point you make. I really think it changes the psychology of the team, the way they feel about themselves. Now they've got to wonder if they're a little bit snake-bitten, and they've got to go out and prove it, and they've got to do it every game because you lose a little bit of confidence every time you lose a game.
Okay, 2 injury notes for the Trailblazers. Clyde Drexler again sits out with a sprained right knee. They think he's going to play in the first round of the playoffs, but they don't know if he'll be 100% or how sharp he'll be, so he won't even dress today. Jerome Kersey with a right ankle sprain and a sore left shoulder will dress, but is likely not to play. Danny Ainge will start again, we assume, in the backcourt with Drexler out. Up next, the Insiders, Peter Bessie and Bob Ferry, with the latest on NBA coaches who figure to be coming and going. And that's after this.
At age 74, I'm the oldest Ironman triathlete.
Jim Ward has a hobby. It's called staying young.
It's a workout.
That's why he uses Armor All protectant on his dash, seats, and especially his tires. Rubber can age and crack, but Armor All penetrates to keep his tires looking like new. Jim says his tires never seem to get old. People say the same thing about Jim.
I like a good-looking car. It makes me feel good.
There is a fountain of youth, and we own the patent. Armor All.
I gotta run.
The U.S. Postal Service will pick up 1 or 100 or 1,000 priority mail and express mail packages for just $4.50. That's per pickup, not per package. And we'll even pick up heavy ones. You'll get express mail next day and 2-day priority mail delivery at some of the lowest prices around. So call for a pickup. It's like getting a moving van for $4.50. We deliver for you.
For heartburn, regular Rolaids uses an aluminum salt, but his antacid is Tums, and Tums has calcium.
Something my body needs anyway. I like that.
People are being murdered for parts.
Bobby could end up in pieces.
Feel free to scream.
When Eve meets her match.
Get me out of here!
Man and Machine, NBC Sunday.
Okay, the Insiders are here, and the topic is potential coaching changes. Let's begin with the situation in Milwaukee. Poor Frank Hamlin. well respected all around the league for many years as an assistant coach, finally gets a shot at a top job, deserves a better fate, but the whole situation was falling apart, and he's going down with it.
Right. The shame of it is that Frank never had a chance to show what he could do. He inherited Del Harris's players, his system, his assistants, and the players were old and not that agile to begin with. I'm very confident, Bob, that he will get a job in this league.
Oh, he will get a job, but there's another job to fill in Milwaukee. They don't have a general manager or personnel director. And there's a lot of talk going around that our colleague here, Quinn Buckner, is being mentioned for either one of the other.
Well,
Quinn,
I have not been contacted for either the coach, general manager's job. I don't want to coach. I'm happy doing what I'm doing, and that's all I've got to say about it.
If nominated, you will not run. If elected, you will not serve.
I will not leave your side, Mr. Costas.
Oh, what a relief that is.
The first thing, Quinn, you have to learn is to say no comment when you take one of these jobs. Jerry Reynolds, the Kings GM, called me earlier this year and asked me if you would be a good candidate for the coaching job out there, and I told him the truth. I said no.
Thank you. Thank you.
What about all this talk about Mike Dunleavy? Close relationship with Bucks owner Herbert Cole, who didn't want him to leave in the first place. Dunleavy still got time left on the Laker contract, but the speculation was if they gave him a tremendous deal and made him the GM and the coach, maybe he'd come.
From what I hear, Mike's got 2 years left in his contract, and he's staying in L.A. Jerry West is very happy with him.
So he'll probably have the St. John's job next week.
How about Richie Adubato in Dallas?
He's gone. The owner, Donald Carter, is pressuring management to move him out of there. And when the owner speaks and management has a bad record, I believe the owner gets his way.
Paul Westhead in Denver?
I think Bernie Bickerstaff will move him out of there, bring in one of his guys, or possibly come down into the position himself. Westhead tried to renegotiate. They said no. That's always a bad sign for the coach.
Bob, if Bickerstaff doesn't coach himself, assuming Westhead is gone, who might come in?
Well, I heard the names are out there, are Charlotte's Gene Littles and Houston's ex-Houston coach Don Chaney, and they're pretty strong rumors right now.
Yeah, Don Chaney, who was coach of the year 1 minute and out the door the next. Rex Hughes in Sacramento?
That's a shame. Rex has done a real good job. The team is competitive. They're winning games at the end of the season. But it's a franchise in transition, new ownership, probably new GM, and definitely a new coach.
You know, something I heard, assuming Hughes isn't back, San Antonio is committed to having a guy with NBA experience alongside Tarkanian on the bench. And I heard that Hughes might be that guy, or at least one of those considered, if he's not back in Sacramento.
That's why you're one of the insiders.
Just trying to contribute something here. Now, how about the zoo known as the New Jersey Nets? I mean, this situation is outrageous.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, Bill Fitch won't be back, no matter how far this team goes in the playoffs or whatever. He has the reputation of being a disciplinarian. He sets rules and regulations, and he might have done this previous places in Boston. Quinn can give us some insight into that. He set them up here. He didn't follow through. The players have been abusing that from day one. Back to last year, Derek Coleman would show up before games late. He'd come to practice with his sneakers undone 15 minutes late, and Fitch never did anything about it. And to expect the general manager or ownership to come in and save him at this point is ridiculous. Not that Fitch is asking them to anyway.
Well, I play for Bill Fitch, and I have to tell you this. I don't condone what's going on with Coleman and those guys, but I know Bill Fitch has been inconsistent when he's told people stuff. When I played in Boston, it was that way, and you can't do that to a player. Not in last year's play, this year's. These guys demand that you stay consistent with them, and if you don't,
next question.
Then they won't respond to you.
Regardless of what Fitch's deficiencies may be, should the GM step in just for the sake of sanity and say, I don't care what the deal is, anybody, even if he's a superstar, even if it's Derek Coleman, let alone Chris Morris, anyone who openly disses the coach in profane terms and who refuses to go back into a ball game when asked to go back in is a bum and not a professional, and I don't care who the coach is, we don't tolerate this.
Bob, what do you mean by that? The problem is it all goes back, we'll say to last year, but even earlier this year when they were negotiating with Jim Valvano. Players, if they don't fear the coach somehow, they're not going to respond to him. As soon as they started talking about Jim Valvano, there's when Fitch's power.
All right, so Fitch is a lame duck. He's gone. They'll try to clean the slate with somebody else next year. Could it be Chuck Daly? Because the general idea is he's not going to come back in Detroit. First, San Antonio was the thought. Now Tarkanian's there. Is New Jersey the next stop for him?
Well, I think it's a spot that would definitely, he'd be good at it, then they would respect him. San Antonio was only one option. Daly is definitely leaving there, no matter if Jack McCloskey stays or is fired himself. But Daly is definitely looking around.
Well, you know, another name I've heard out there, and Willis likes him an awful lot, is our color man on NBC, Mike Fratello.
Yeah, Fratello's name has been mentioned in connection with that.
And Rick Pitino. Let's not forget Rick.
Well, I guess that covers all the possibilities you folks sorted out in the comfort of your respective homes. Up next, the Lakers try to stay alive in Portland. Tom Hammond and Steve Snapper Jones, both of whom will be rumored for jobs by halftime, will have the call after these messages from your local station, and we will see you at halftime. So long.
This is it. All the dirt finally comes out on the season finale of the Powers That Be. See what gets the Senators' popularity poll up.
I've got just the thing.
I bet you got.
Will a congressman turn a trick with a maid?
I could pull something out of your nose.
I'd like that.
It's an American affair. Don't miss the big finish of the Powers That Be, NBC, tonight.
Bring your windows to life with custom aluminum mini blinds from Pay and Pack Home Design Centers, starting at the unbelievable low price of only $4. Custom-made 1-inch mini blinds can fit windows up to 9.5 feet in length, 10 feet in width. Beautiful baked-on finishes in 40 spectacular colors. So see what a big change these small prices can make. Pay and Pack. Now, design is our middle name.
Speed is a God-given thing. The way to say thank you is to push it to the limit. I'm used to guys being bigger and stronger, so I work at being quicker and faster. For the NBA, I look like a little guy, but I know this. You can't beat what you can't catch.
Here's the problem. You need to remodel your house, but you don't know if you'll ever get to do it. Because in between need and get is a gap called not enough money. Well, it's easy to bridge that gap between need and get. Just go to First Interstate Bank, because First Interstate offers home improvement loans, car loans, and secured lines of credit at some of our lowest rates in years. So to go from need to get, just go to First Interstate Bank, and we'll help you get what you need.
Giving your love all your life. Tonight at 7 on Channel 8.
For the Los Angeles Lakers, today is Judgment Day. After ringing up an NBA high 15 consecutive playoff appearances, the Lakers find themselves in an unfamiliar position, struggling for their postseason lives. With Magic Johnson, a playoff berth was automatic. And even after his retirement, the Lakers were expected to be a playoff team. But then injuries. Vlade Divac sidelined for the first half of the season. And in the second half, James Worthy and Sam Perkins went down. But Mike Dunleavy's squad has tried to battle back against these crippling injuries, fighting against the odds in an attempt to keep that playoff string intact. With just 2 games remaining, the Lakers still have their sights set on the playoffs, but are in a must-win situation, fighting for the final playoff spot in the NBA West.
Genuine Draft, Bobby Ray Hall, IndyCar. This year is really flying.
There was a time when sports cars were built purely for sport. On April 20th, that time will return. Announcing the return of the pure sports car. the new Mazda RX-7.
Small businesses come in many sizes, and because they do, we've created the AT&T Partners in Business program, a choice of savings plans for all sorts of small companies. You can get discounts on the numbers you call most, or the area code, or the country you call most. AT&T Partners in Business. Choices, because one size does not fit all. Call us.
What do you get when you take a driving experience this pure and add 255 horsepower? Coming April 20th, the return of the pure sports car, the new Mazda RX-7. They gathered at racetracks from Silverstone to Watkins Glen. Why did something so many people love have to disappear? Coming April 20th, the return of the pure sports car, the new Mazda RX-7.
If you think you have only two choices for business computer systems, think again. Hewlett-Packard.
On April 20th, you'll find out what 255 horsepower feels like with less horse. Announcing the return of the pure sports car, the new Mazda RX-7.
Sometimes I dream that he is me. You got to see that's how I dream to be. I dream I move. I dream I groove.
Like Mike. If I could be like Mike. I'm gonna be like Mike. Like Mike. If I could be like Mike. Be like Mike. Like Mike. If I could be like Mike.
Hi, I'm Jerry Seinfeld. I'm hosting Saturday Night Live, and my musical guest is Annie Lennox. That's right, I'm on 2 shows this week. You know what that makes me? The king of NBC.
Better get yourself together, darling. Dawn the human race. Where we all shine like the moon and the stars and the sun. Yeah, we all
There was a time when sports cars were built purely for sport. On April 20th, that time will return. Announcing the return of the pure sports car, the new Mazda RX-7.
Cold filtered. Miller Genuine Draft. For those who've discovered its real draft taste, the world is a very cool place.
What do you get when you take a driving experience this pure and add 255 horsepower? Coming April 20th, the return of the pure sports car, the new Mazda RX-7. They gathered at racetracks from Silverstone to Watkins Glen. Why did something so many people love have to disappear? Coming April 20th, the return of the pure sports car, the new Mazda RX-7.
How much longer?
That much longer. Just sit tight.
You said we were going someplace special.
Did I?
Yes, you did.
There you go.
Whoa, Dad.
Grandpa used to take me to the same field.
Grandpa did?
Yep. Look.
Where?
There.
Remember the feeling, the first time you saw an airplane fly?
do.
On April 20th, you'll find out what 255 horsepower feels like with less horse. Announcing the return of the pure sports car, the new Mazda RX-7.
Inside your smooth-running engine is a torture chamber. And under these grueling conditions, only one leading motor oil in every grade meets the world's toughest requirements for viscosity breakdown. Castrol. Castrol provides maximum protection against viscosity and thermal breakdown. So use Castrol. After all, why make things tougher on your engine? Castrol GTX, engineered for today's smaller cars.
I don't give an inch at all on the court. I don't give anybody any respect.
It's like a Swiss Army knife. Durable, reliable, versatile. Hatch goes up, seats go down.
Downshifting into a curve, I can feel the GT's 16 valves kick in.
Kicking and screaming. Well, you know kids. But my Escort wagon gives them room to spread out.
Outstanding value. Finally, a sophisticated car I can afford.
Ford Escort, America's most popular small car, for a lot of good reasons.
Have you driven a Ford lately?
Because when you're racing for the America's Cup, you've got to travel light.
It's the right boat now.
Because when it comes to winning, these guys aren't afraid to go a little overboard.
It's the right boat now.
Because after all, you're pulling for America to win the America's Cup. So join the Silver Bullet in supporting America Cubed and its crew as they race to go all the way. Coors Light and America Cubed.
Right here, right boat, right now.
But mine tasted too strong.
Good news. Introducing mild-tasting, tartar-controlled Crest Smooth Mint Gel.
My mouth thanks you.
It's tough on tartar, soft on you.
A car with a worn suspension is more than uncomfortable. It's unsafe. But Midas puts you back in control. For a limited time, buy one Shocker strut and get the second for 50% off. For a safer suspension, nobody beats Midas.
Ask anyone who's driven a Ford lately. Like the people from Car and Driver, who've named Taurus SHO one of their 10 best. The people from Motor Trend, who named Explorer the best buy in its class. Or any one of the thousands of people who've made Escort the best-selling small car in America. Have you driven a Ford lately? It's more than just a question. It's an answer.
Yeah, he wants to get back to Another delay is unacceptable. Yeah, exactly.
Ann Joyce is waging a war
Therapy can't wait.
against the high cost of workers' compensation
On my
insurance.
way to see a supervisor.
She fights for better medical care for injured workers,
He's ready. He's on crutches.
so they get back to work faster.
I'll let him do some phone work on sales.
Perfect.
You'd think she'd be the kind of person who'd make an insurance company nervous.
Good news. You're going back to work.
Actually, thanks. She works for one.
Set your sights. Adjust your speakers, because here comes NBA Superstars 2, basketball's top guns. Have joined forces with MCA's hottest recording artists. The mix includes Patti LaBelle, Michael Jordan, Guy, Charles Barkley, Sass Jordan, and many more. It's an arsenal of sights and sounds. With every purchase, you'll receive a free NBA Superstars 2 audio cassette sampler. Lock on to NBA Superstars 2, available April 23rd, wherever NBA videos are sold.
Miller Lite is the great beer that's less filling. It's everything you want a beer to be.
I didn't think she'd come. I know she'd come. Yeah.
Introducing the new Ford Taurus and the Dummy. Ford Motor Company has the only cars in this class that offer dual airbags. And to help make sure you won't have to use them, we also offer anti-lock brakes.
Mom sent pictures. You're as big as a house. Oh, you should see me.
Moments like this were made for Gold MasterCard. With the added credit you've earned. It's a long drive, and you'll need the map. Plus, no card is more welcomed at home or abroad. Not American Express, not even Visa.
Oh, Lori, I can't believe it. How in the world?
Gold MasterCard, the best gold card to master the moment.
Introducing the new Ford Taurus and the ear. Its new design pleases the eye, but to please the ear, we quieted the engine, the interior, even the air conditioning. So now the idea of driving one will sound even better.
The Chicago Bulls. The Detroit Pistons. Michael Jordan leads the NBA's best team against Isaiah and the playoff-bound Pistons. Chicago Stadium will be pumped with air for this matchup between the world champions and their longtime adversaries. The NBA on NBC Sunday.
And speaking of the Pistons and the Bulls, coming up on the Prudential Halftime Report, we'll hear some provocative remarks from the Pistons' Bill Laimbeer about Michael Jordan. And we'll have a look at the M from the now-defunct Run TMC, the Kings' Mitch Richmond. Right now, let's head back to Portland and rejoin Tom Hammond and the snapper, Steve Jones. Tom?
Shirts. Beware the man who says, "I'll give you the shirt off my back." Chances are it's not a Dockers shirt, and therefore of no great loss to him, nor of any particular gain to you. Nobody does shirts like Dockers.
Ford truck, the best never ends.
People used to go out on Saturday night and leave their truck at home. Times have changed. Our 92 full-size pickup is still built Ford tough, but we designed it to be more stylish outside, more comfortable inside. Now, if anything gets left at home, it'll probably be their car.
More people are driving the best-built, best-selling American trucks than ever before.
Viscosity breakdown is a very important issue. It's probably the most important issue on the motor oil. You want the oil protecting at the same time you don't want it to break down, and Pennzoil is definitely the oil they use. Pennzoil outperforms any other leading motor oil against viscosity breakdown. Using Pennzoil, I have not seen any oil-related problems in our race car and our engines. It's good enough to run in my racing engine. I think it ought to be good enough for everybody else to use it. Pennzoil, performance, protection, quality, that says it all.
At the Lake Edna Karate Club's last get-together, Ralph Fisher, the instructor, served new Oriental wings from KFC. Tender wings glazed in a sweet teriyaki sauce. Charlie Lewis had so many he had to loosen his black belt. In fact, everyone had seconds, except Ralph. New KFC Oriental wing pieces, 6 for $1.99, 20 for $5.99, for a limited time in Lake Edna or your neck of the woods.
Next weekend, the NBA playoffs tip off on NBC with back-to-back doubleheaders. Playoff excitement, playoff intensity, playoff heroics. Jordan off the spin to the scoop. Spectacular shot. The NBA playoffs beginning next weekend on NBC.
This is the Prudential Halftime Report, brought to you by the companies of the Prudential. In a changing world, one thing remains rock solid, the Prudential.
Okay, halftime at the Portland Coliseum. Trailblazers leading the Lakers by 153-52. As you know, the Lakers need this one to stay alive for the final playoff spot in the West. Peter Vesey is here along with Quinn Buckner. Tomorrow on NBC, one of the best rivalries in the league will be renewed. The Pistons and the Bulls on Showtime, beginning at 3 Eastern Time. We'll bring you a conversation between Quinn and the Pistons' Bill Laimbeer. Here's a comment from that interview in which Laimbeer responds to a question about the Bulls and Michael Jordan. Roll it.
Michael Jordan may be a very good, outstanding basketball player, but in no way does that make him a better person than anybody. And for him to say and to make value judgments on us as individuals where he does not know us as individuals, all he knows is our style of play. But to make value judgments on us as individuals and to put them into the public medium on the newspapers or on television, who is he? I mean, all he does is play basketball. In the world, he's this big. I mean, he may be up there because he has publicists and media and pumping him up. But as a individual, down-to-earth, heart person, he has, I mean, who is he? Who cares about him?
Bill just a tad cranky.
Is he on a diet? I don't know if those remarks are pre-playoff depression or post-playoff depression. I mean, Bill has always worn the black hat. He's liked it. Now he's taken on Michael Jordan. You know, it's an indication, you know, when guys cheap shot you and stuff like that, I think that's a pretty good indication of how they are as individuals off the court. I've always been a fan of Lambeer's. I don't think that's the way he is off the court, but I can understand why Jordan would take that position.
Well, I tell you, as I did the interview, what I was impressed with was how candid he was. I mean, first of all, I didn't know he was going to say that. But I'd been told a long time ago that, and I also felt a little bit of this, that Bill was going to be somebody tough to deal with. Bill Laimbeer is somebody, I'm going to tell you this, you don't want to play against him, but you want him on your team, because what he does is make the best out of his physical skills, and he just happens to be opinionated and one of the few people willing to tell you his opinion.
I'm sure this is his honest opinion, but I'm also guessing that there's something else going on here, which is that for a while, Laimbeer felt like he was out of the flow. He had been a very, very important man to the Pistons. Then he misses a game. Sally replaces him in the starting lineup. Lambeer's having a bad season by his standard. He wants to reassert himself. His play has improved, but also he makes the comments about McCloskey. He takes on the symbolic role of speaking for the team. He makes the comment here, hey, nobody, not the champions, not Michael Jordan, is going to diss us. He speaks for the team, and he becomes part of the group again.
He's always been a master psychologist, always looking for that edge. And this is just another opportunity for him to do it. He has hidden the closet all year. He's supposed to be the leader. Where has he been until the last couple weeks of this season?
Well, as I talked to him, he was confused as anybody. They've had personnel changes that really had him a bit frustrated. And I think what is starting to happen now, where you both are on target, is he has taken the reins again. Somebody had to galvanize this team, and I think the latest issues that they've had come forth to him has helped do that. And yes, Bill Laimbeer has been the instigator, but it doesn't matter as long as the team wins. And that's what Bill Laimbeer said that impressed me the most.
Okay, now we're on the air, as we said, with Showtime tomorrow before the Pistons and Bulls at 3 Eastern time. Now, that should be late in the game at Boston Garden between the Heat and the Celtics, and we'll have the ability to look in live on that game at various points, and it could be very, very important. Boston could need it, depending upon what happens with the Knicks and Bucks tonight. They could need it to win the Atlantic. Miami might have to have it to make the playoffs.
There are not many games that Boston needs to win in Boston Garden. Have they ever lost? I think they'll win it.
You know, if they win the Atlantic, not only do they win the division over the Knicks, they take themselves out of Chicago's bracket, and they probably get Cleveland in the second round, and they've beaten Cleveland twice this year in Cleveland without Bird.
Well, I think the key is what's going to happen with Bird. The latest I hear is that he shot around at the practice yesterday, and that he has not run at all, either on the court or off the court. Tried swimming the other day, and even that bothered his back. So for the first time, people that I've talked to for years up there, they have a sense that Larry Bird might be finished.
He may be finished, but this is a team that, as you talked about, moves over to play Cleveland. This team feels very confident. When you listen to them now, they finally feel that they can win over a prolonged period of time without Larry, and then it may be just that time to move on.
Okay, so they take the Atlantic if the Knicks lose tonight against Milwaukee, or if they win tonight, or tomorrow afternoon, I should say, against Miami. Miami makes the playoffs if they win tomorrow, or if they get help at Cleveland with the Cavaliers beating the Hawks. And coming up next, we'll take a look at a guy who was preparing for the playoffs at this time last year. But now he's with Sacramento. We're talking about Mitch Richmond. That's right after this message from Prudential and a word from the NBA.
In a world of sweeping changes, there is one certainty. The financial strength of the Rock. The Prudential Rock Solid.
You've got to want a good education.
Oh, that's one thing that you really need.
If you give it 100% every day, you're going to come out on top.
If you want it bad enough, and you're willing to make the sacrifices to get there, you can get there.
You can accomplish anything you want in life if you work hard and stay in school.
The NBA playoffs begin in less than a week. One team that figures to be right in the middle of things out west is the Golden State Warriors, the same Warrior team that popularized the term Run TMC, referring to Tim Hardaway, Mitch Richmond, and Chris Mullin. But right before the season started, the Warriors traded Richmond to Sacramento for rookie Billy Owens. Gail Gardner picks up the story from there.
It was a golden time for the talented and personable young man from Kansas State. In '89, Mitch Richmond was the NBA Rookie of the Year and blossomed into one of the league's premier shooting guards. With Tim Hardaway and Chris Mullin, the Warriors' Run TMC became a well-oiled machine.
Hey, this is Ron TMC right here. Me, Mullin, Mitch. Ron TMC. We just had fun together, and Ron TMC was going. It was getting up there, and we had fun with it.
We just gelled together. We grew as a team, and we grew as people, we grew as persons, and stuff like that. So we enjoyed each other's company off the floor as well as on.
But magic times can sometimes slide away. On the eve of the season, Richmond's world was turned upside down.
I got a phone call, and it was Don Nelson, and he said, you know, can you come up to my room for a minute? And right then I knew that something had happened. He goes, Mitch, I have to tell you something. And I said, Coach, I already know. And I just said, to where? You know, and he said, Sacramento Kings.
Richmond was traded for promising Syracuse rookie Billy Owens.
For the betterment of our team, why we had to move him. You have to give a great player to get a great player. That was the hardest thing I've ever done.
Did you look him right in the eye?
Yes, I did. And I had a tear in my eye. He actually handled it better than I did.
He came by my room and just gave him a hug and told him good luck and keep his head up. It was an empty feeling.
Sacramento was just 70 miles down the road, but Richmond felt like a warrior in sheep's clothing, and at first he played like that.
I just thought the world had turned around or something. You know, I just didn't have the spark. Just didn't have the fire in my eye, and I didn't have, I don't know, I just didn't have something. Something was missing.
I left my heart in San Francisco.
You know, you talk about leaving your heart in San Francisco. Well, have you left any piece of your heart in Golden State?
I just have my house. That's about the only piece I left back there, and my friends. But I think early in the season, my heart was still back there. I think a piece of it was, and you know, I was in both places. Being in Sacramento, you hear about Golden State a lot because we're not that far away, and how well they were doing and stuff like that. And it was real tough, I think, the first 3 or 4 months.
The Kings players viewed Richmond as an acquisition that might begin to turn the tide. Besides, Mitch's mother had it all in perspective.
So you just say, you know, things happen for the best sometimes. You just keep your head up. Sometimes you got to move on.
Back out to Richmond. Launches for 2. He's got the bucket.
So I just have to look at it that way. And, you know, I have been looking at it that way. And that's why, you know, I have been feeling a lot better and I have been playing a lot better.
And things might not be bleak for Mitch Richmond much longer. The Sac Kings were, what, 29 and 53, something like this for the year. But Dwayne Coswell, Lionel Simmons, Anthony Bonner, they're in the lottery. They'll get a high draft pick in addition to Mitch Richmond. They might be pretty good before long.
Well, they could be pretty good, but what Mitch Richmond left was the fact that at Golden State, what they were able to do is Sharunas Marciulionis started to play better, and that allowed Golden State to now have 4 guys on their team with, you know, you look at Tim Hardaway now that can score, you know Mullins can score, and Billy Owens. Now you got 4 guys can get 30 points. There are not any teams in the league, many teams, that can do that. That's a big plus for Golden State. Unfortunately, Mitch Richmond was one of the guys they had to give up to do that.
Plus, the Warriors are one of the most enjoyable teams to watch. They're just plain fun to watch play. We'll return with second-half action from Portland. The Blazers with a 1-point lead over the Lakers after these messages from your local station.
This has been the Prudential Halftime Report, brought to you by the companies of the Prudential. In a changing world, one thing remains rock solid: the Prudential.
This May on NBC just might be the greatest month of television in history. The season-ending weddings on Cheers and A Different World, and farewell to the Golden Girls.
Will you marry me?
Plus the Academy of Country Music Awards. The last episodes of In the Heat of the Night and Matlock. The final night court, an unforgettable goodbye from The Cosby Show. And Johnny says goodnight on The Tonight Show one last time. The best movies, the magic moments, a magnificent May on NBC.
Over 100 years ago, good entertainment was as rare as a good beer, till Henry Weinhard made his very own private reserve.
Never had this before.
Which made finding a good beer easier.
Gentlemen, Tex Velvet.
Thank you. You are beautiful.
But good entertainment was still a long ways off.
She'll be coming around the mountain when she comes. Come on, you know the words. She'll be coming round.
G.I. Joe salutes Haviland Motor Oil's long commitment to IndyCar racing. Haviland's quality reputation makes it the perfect motor oil for your car or truck, too. And now, during G.I. Joe's 2-week sale, you can get Haviland Formula 3 motor oil for just 94 cents a quart. Texaco Haviland is the proud presenting sponsor of this year's Budweiser G.I. Joe's 200. Save on Haviland during the 2-week sale at G.I. Joe's, the Northwest Sports and Auto Store.
Have lawmakers gambled with our future? Wednesday at 5. Getting ready for the third quarter in Portland, where the Blazers outscored L.A. 14-7 over the last 5 minutes of the first half to take a 1-point lead, 53-52. Welcome back to Portland. There had been some suggestions that these two teams might coast in this game today, but not so. A hotly contested first half. Steve, show us some numbers. Take us to the Miller Genuine Draft halftime stats.
No problem, Tom. When teams don't like each other, you get a hotly contested ball game. Danny Ainge, hot shooting, and you see the turnover story right there. Both teams have 12 apiece, but as we take a look at Terry Porter and points off the turnovers, you'll also find out the Lakers have a big advantage there, as Porter has shot the ball well, but the Lakers have gotten 10 points off turnovers to keep them in the ball game. One of the things that they've done to make that happen is be aggressive at the defensive end. They forced a mistake from Terry Porter. Byron Scott finally gets control of the ball, and Chucky Brown, who relishes an open court, finishes with a flare. Rebounding. The Los Angeles Lakers, one of the worst rebounding teams in the league, hold a big advantage over one of the best, and you would expect that to be the opposite, led by A.C. Green, and Mike Dunleavy hopes that his team can continue that kind of work on the glass.
And a reminder, later in the game, we'll be presenting the Miller Genuine Draft Genuine Memories feature. At intermission, the Blazers up by 1, shooting 62% in the first half. It's 53-52. We'll return to Portland for the third quarter right after these messages.
When you get the new car?
What car? You know what car? No, what car? Did you just get a raise? Wouldn't need a raise to buy that car.
What car?
The Toyota Tercel, starting at $71.98. It's the lowest price two-door sedan you can buy.
What do you want? What makes you think I want something? You're my brother.
Could I borrow the car?
Tom? Not funny, Tom.
Tercel, today's answer to life's little hang-ups.
Wouldn't it be great if she finally came over for a beer?
Nice place.
And you offered her a Keystone, the premium beer in a can that tastes like beer in a bottle because of Keystone's specially lined can. But she said,
I only drink dry beer.
Oh, wouldn't it be great if Keystone made a dry beer?
We do.
Introducing Keystone Dry. Dry brewed and cold filtered for a great new bottled beer taste in a can. Now, wouldn't that be great?
Dan figures the time he saves using Microsoft Excel for his budget is time well spent with others. Microsoft Excel, the spreadsheet for Windows. We'd like to point out that for 10 million people, Microsoft Windows is an easier way to use their PCs. We'd now like to point out how easy it is to see for yourself. Just call 1-800-882-2000.
Sunday,
Young, healthy people are being murdered for parts.
Eve's the perfect target.
Something is very wrong.
And Bobby's got the bait.
40,000.
It'll take a miracle to save him.
He's a cop. Feel free to scream. No one can hear you.
When Eve meets her match.
Get me out of here!
Man and Machine, NBC Sunday.
Michael, Isaiah, the Bulls battle the Pistons, Sunday.
Small businesses come in many sizes. And because they do, we've created the AT&T Partners in Business program, a choice of savings plans for all sorts of small companies. You can get discounts on the numbers you call most, or the area code, or the country you call most. AT&T Partners in Business. Choices. Because one size does not fit all. Call us.
We got a problem. Any ideas?
I've got a contact, sir.
Well, get on it then.
Get him here now.
Let's roll! Go, go, go!
Where'd you find him? He's been with the organization for a while.
Nice job, sir.
With years of training, Napa Auto Care technicians provide a secret service everyone should know about.
Somehow, people have gotten the idea the new Toyota Paseo is a wildly exciting, sporty coupe. The Paseo is a practical, sensible car. Okay, so it has some muscle, and a low starting price could be a big turn-on. And sure, you're going to be instantly popular. That's no reason to do something impulsive. Think it over. The all-new Paseo, a very practical car from Toyota.
I remember it well. I just come out of some of the most rugged country of Utah when I turned 200,000 miles on my truck.
I was way back in the woods. It's rugged. It's at the base of Chestnut Mountain. A lot of people won't go there, but it's a special place to me.
I pulled over the side of the road, showed a sign saying 200,000 miles. Is that cool or what?
Where were you when your Toyota truck hit 100, 200, or 300,000 miles? Call us and tell us your story.
The only truck I'll ever own will be a Toyota. I'll tell you that much right now.
Center court with Andre Agassi versus David Wheaton.
Nice shoot.
Some technical difficulty. The network feed.
The greatest names in the game, in the game's greatest seniors tournament, the PGA Seniors Championship, this weekend on NBC.
Power windows are just one of the many useful features you get with the extra value option package on the 1992 Toyota 4Runner. So is air conditioning, power door locks, cruise control, power side mirrors, and special chrome trim. Of course, up to $900 savings is a pretty nice feature, too. And just imagine what you can do with that.
Come on now. You sit on the bench and watch that? Walk, walk. You can't do that. Oh, mark right into them. That's embarrassing. This foolishness has gone far enough. You are so bad. You're wide open. Ah, get on that floor. No. Time out. When you're losing it on the court, you take a time out. When you're losing it at home, you should do the same.
This is the NBC Television Network.
These are my new shoes from Converse. They're so light and so fast, my grandmama can whoop you in them. Grandmama! Let's go. What? Shoot that dude. Run like an old lady. Move it, Granny, move it. Remember, you can't beat what you can't catch. Okay, Granny, one-on-one, me and you. That was a lucky shot, Grandma.
My wife bets me that I can't go into Builder's Square garden shop and get only what I need. Ha! Pruning shears. That's all I need are pruning shears. I don't need seeds, fertilizer, hoses, sprinklers. I'm not the least bit interested in these yard tools. Even this weed Terminator doesn't faze me. Look at these prices. So, I owe the wife $1. Builder's Square, the warehouse with everything for your house and your garden.
Have lawmakers gambled with our future? Wednesday at 5.
I hear some poor sap named Al bought a Toyota Celica All-Track, then found out this Eagle Talon cost almost $5,000 less.
Look, I don't want to talk about it, okay?
Al?
By day, I race an Eagle Talon, but by night, I'm practicing to be a great opera singer.
Oh, what do your fans say to that?
Don't quit your day job.
Small businesses come in many sizes. And because they do, we've created the AT&T Partners in Business program, a choice of savings plans for all sorts of small companies. You can get discounts on the numbers you call most, or the area code, or the country you call most. AT&T Partners in Business. Choices, because one size does not fit all. Call us.
Miller Lite is the great beer that's less filling. It's everything you want a beer to be.
Come on, let me show you where it's at. Cold Miller Lite is that. Come on.
Michael, Isaiah, the Bulls battle the Pistons, Sunday.
At age 74, I'm the oldest Ironman triathlete.
Jim Ward has a hobby. It's called staying young.
It's a workout.
That's why he uses Armor All protectant on his dash, seats, and especially his tires. Rubber can age and crack, but Armor All penetrates to keep his tires looking like new. Jim says his tires never seem to get old. People say the same thing about Jim.
I like a good-looking car. It makes me feel good.
There is a fountain of youth, and we own the patent. Armor All.
I gotta run.
A high-output 4-liter engine. Anti-lock brakes. And shift-on-the-fly full-time 4-wheel drive. Make Jeep Cherokee the ultimate vehicle for the hustle and bustle of everyday life.
Now save $1,500 on new Jeep Cherokees.
This might look like a typical light beer and a typical day on the slopes. But this is cold-filtered Miller Genuine Draft Light, so there's nothing typical about it.
Summer. Something about summer makes fall a little jealous. Boats and barbecues, lawnmowers, lemonade. But hey, don't blame fall for being jealous. Summer is a very tough act to follow. And nobody does summer like Dockers shorts.
Well, here it is, gentlemen. Top of the world. Now, I put my camera here. Your vehicle would face out over the cliffs. What do you think? Look, if you plan to claim your vehicle's as good as a Jeep, you really need this shot in your commercial. How are we going to get our vehicle up here?
Helicopter.
We'll lift it.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Great. Go down and make some calls.
Same thing. It's going to be a great commercial.
A car with a worn suspension is more than uncomfortable. It's unsafe. But Midas puts you back in control. For a limited time, buy one Shocker strut and get the second for 50% off. For a safer suspension, nobody beats Midas.
Team USA is coming to the Summer Olympics on NBC.
Kilimanjaro, 1.8 million years in making. It should be ready just in time for the new Jeep. In a world of constant change, there is one certainty. The financial strength of the rock, the Prudential, rock solid.
Beer drinkers across America are discovering that the lunch hour now begins at 12 o'clock sharps. Miller Sharps. Brewed like a beer, but without all the alcohol. Imagine that. The crisp, refreshing taste of beer anytime, including chow time.
If you think you have only two choices for business computer systems, think again. Hewlett-Packard.
Cool, crisp, clean. Old Spice. It puts the wind in your sails.
This might look like a typical light beer and a typical day on the slopes, but this is cold-filtered Miller Genuine Draft Light, so there's nothing typical about it.
NBA action, it's fantastic.
Well, Tom, we just want to remind the folks again about Showtime tomorrow, which comes on the air at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. We'll be able to look in on the closing stages of the game between Miami and Boston from Boston Garden, and also the complete interview you had with Bill Laimbeer, not just about Michael Jordan, but about other topics.
Well, he talked about the Olympic selection process. He talks about Isaiah Thomas, and all of it again. I was really impressed with his candidness, Bob, because there's some questions that, quite frankly, as an athlete, I may not have answered quite with the same frankness that he did, but Bill Laimbeer just tells you what's on his mind.
Okay, so tease us here. We know he rips Michael Jordan. What else does he say? I haven't seen it.
He doesn't particularly care for the selection process because he thinks that the Olympic selection process should have been more of a trial situation, but I don't know how you try all of those people out. But his was, he slams the process, I have to tell you that.
Does he think he could have played on the Olympic team?
Bob, please. No, I don't think...
That's not his point. His point isn't that Bill Laimbeer didn't get a shot, right?
It's not that he didn't get a shot. He just thinks that there's so many good players out there that should have been given a chance to make a commitment to be a part of the trial process and then given a chance to go out and participate on the Olympic team if they are selected.
Okay, time for us to get out of here. Back to Portland, closing stages. Hammond and the snapper. Go ahead, Tom.
Season. Houston and the Lakers gunning for that 8th and final Western Conference playoff berth and a right to face Portland in the first round of the playoffs. It was simple for the Rockets. A victory at home against Phoenix, and they were in regardless of the L.A. Clipper-Laker outcome. Otis Thorpe, woo, but the Suns aren't a bunch of slackers. Established the 11-point lead with just over 3.5 minutes to play. But Hakeem Olajuwon came to the rescue. He scored 11 of his 39 points in the final minutes, but it wasn't enough. Houston needed a tray, but could not convert, and the Rockets lose to Phoenix 100-97. The Rockets once again could not take care of business and had to rely on the Clippers to do it for them. So it would come down to a dandy between the Clippers and Lakers. These two L.A. rivals would go back and forth, Manning with the heavy stuff. Then it's former Blazer Danny Young draining the tray to end the first half. Clippers on top. They upped it to 9 before the Lakers came back, and the Clips needed a bucket to tie. Oh, what a follow by Manning. 100 apiece, heading into OT. Sedale Threet was the hero in the extra period. Lakers down by 1. He'll pull up and hit. Lakers pull out the 109-108 thriller. They make it banged up and hurting to the playoffs for the 16th straight year and will face Portland. So this is how the NBA season finishes up, regular season. We'll take a look at the playoff pairings in just a second. Golden State, big win over Seattle. They'll be seeing each other very soon. Utah 101, San Antonio 90. Boston nails down the Atlantic Division by defeating Miami 109-93. Miami is still in. That's because Atlanta loses a heartbreaker to Cleveland 112-108. Chicago roughs up Detroit 103-85. Dallas an easy winner over Denver, and Minnesota clobbers Charlotte 130-107. So when all the dust is settled, here's a look at the pairings. In the Western Conference, Portland, the top seed, will open up against the Lakers on Thursday night here at home. Game 2 Saturday afternoon at the Coliseum. Utah teeing it up against the Clippers. Look out for Golden State and Seattle to have a knockdown drag-out. San Antonio definitely hurting without David Robinson in the first round. Eastern Conference, Chicago, they'll advance easily. Boston, Indiana, renewing that rivalry. The feuding but surprising Nets could have Cleveland's number. You never know. The Knicks drop to the 3rd seed and must now face Detroit. You pick that one. Everything gets underway this coming Thursday and Friday. Switching
did to Kevin Duckworth decided to argue a call and argue and argue and argue. Even after he got the first technical foul, he continued to look over his shoulder and say things to the official. And finally, second technical, he's out of here.
Crazy game. I mean,
it really was.
Everybody's tempers were just flying all over.
A lot of emotion last game of the season.
Well, Kevin Duckworth has been the object of criticism by a lot of fans and sports writers over the last couple of years. He claims he's misunderstood. Well, tonight we're going to see another side to the 7-foot center off the court.
Yeah, Ian Price had a chance to spend some time with Kevin some time ago, and we got a chance to meet him and his rather large group of animal friends.
Fans always read me wrong. Everybody think I'm a mean person. I just get mad when I don't get my respect.
Kevin Duckworth says you could call him the Rodney Dangerfield of the Trailblazers. He says all his good intentions either go unnoticed or are misunderstood. But if the 7-foot center of the Blazers seems uncaring and aloof, don't think for a minute that he doesn't appreciate his job. He says the life of an NBA player is better than he ever dreamed it would be.
You get to travel, you get to play with the best players in the world, and you get all the recognition that you never want, and you can't complain about the pay.
At 7 feet tall and 275 pounds, Kevin Duckworth is the biggest Trailblazer. That's nothing new to him. He's always been the biggest. Even back in the 6th grade when he was only 12 years old, he was already 6 feet tall.
It was funny because I was looking my teachers eye to eye and taller than some of them in grade school. And the kids, it's kind of hard to get the girls to get a crush on you because you're so much bigger than everybody else. But, I liked it because I definitely had to get in no fights or nothing. Love him. He's a stud.
Off the court, Kevin Duckworth is a reclusive, quiet 26-year-old man. Grew up in the tough neighborhoods of Chicago's South Side, and things that kept him busy as a child are still important to him today.
There's so many things I like doing. People might think they're crazy, though. I like working on cars. I like building things. I work construction. Some things I like doing because it's a time-consuming thing, and then when you finish with the product, you can say you did it and see the final work, the job you done. It's in my truck. I just made this one, too.
His fascination with automobiles is not always on a large scale. One of his hobbies is building remote-control miniature cars, and building other things, too, like a cage for his 2 pet ducks, Louie and Louie, 2 waddlers who wandered as ducklings into his garage.
So I put them in a box and set them outside in case the mother can hear them. And she never came, and I had 2 ducks. I kept them from then on.
His fascination with animals also includes exotic fish, and he has several tankfuls in his home.
I think tanks bring class in the house. I love tanks. They're just something you ever sit back and just watch them. They're very mellow. I just love them. Good girl. Jump, jump. Good girl.
But his favorite pets are Mercedes and Benz, a classy pair of hounds. Mercedes is a 14-month-old female German Shepherd. Benz is a 16-month-old male Rottweiler.
Like they say, man's best friend. Yeah, your dog. Because no matter how you feel, you go out there and mess with them, and they treat you the same way every day. With this happy feeling, glad to see you, and I love it. Good boy. But then I learned that you talk to them, they listen. Anything you say. Good girl, Stacey.
And if Kevin Duckworth had his way, he'd like the fans to listen to him too. Or maybe just understand that even though he's reclusive, he's not mean. Duckworth is contracted to the Blazers until 1996, so for the next 5 years he plans to call Portland home. But after that, Duck says he'll consider starting his own construction company, or even delving into the car business on a more serious level. But that's a few years down the road. Right now, Kevin Duckworth says he's busy enough concentrating on getting Benz to leap over a barricade and helping the Blazers leap into the spotlight of the NBA.
Since Annie did that story, Duckworth has added an iguana and another dog to his menagerie.
Loves his animals. Tomorrow night here on Good Evening, we're going to meet A.C. Green and his family. Green, of course, was a standout hoops player at Benson High and then at Oregon State, and now, of course, a Los Angeles Laker. And